Okay, good morning everyone. So today's session we will start with different JavaScript libraries. One thing which I want to say that please be on time. I request to you earlier also that we have a shortage of time, and it's better that we will start the session at 9 o'clock sharp. It's already 9:15, 9:20. Okay, so please from tomorrow onwards, it's better to start from 9 o'clock sharp. From today, we will start to work on another part of website development. Until now, what you have learned is how to create web pages, and we use two different types of techniques to build our web pages, AWD and RWD. And today's session is how to use a JavaScript library, that is AngularJS and Knockout, and later we will use jQuery also. As you know that the prerequisite of this course is students must know the HTML5 and jQuery, so we will not cover the basic of jQuery, and we will cover some advanced part of jQuery, and the new this jQuery new JavaScript libraries, which is AngularJS and Knockout, we will cover in this session. Okay, I think that you will find these two libraries very interesting and new also. Maybe you people know the JavaScript, okay, and you have an idea of jQuery, or you know the jQuery well, but these two are advanced than jQuery. So I will start today's session about first I will try to let you understand what is AngularJS and how AngularJS works. You must have heard about MVC architectures, and in MVC we use a model, and we use a view, and we use a controller. Okay, M is model, and that means when I talk about model, it means I'm talking about data, and when I say view, the view means I'm talking about the user interface, and the third one is controller. It meaning to say is something which I will use to manage my model and a view. So MVC is model, view, and controller. So this AngularJS is basically a JavaScript framework that is based on a MVC. One thing you have to again do, that is you need to include the library file of your AngularJS. We have two options again. I can download the Angular.js file. Again, we have a two option here. Either I can download Angular.js, or we can use Angular.min.js. What are the difference between these two files? In fact, there is no difference. Only the size is the difference. In Angular.min.js, what we do is we remove the extra spaces from this file, and just to reduce the size. You have an option. You can use Angular.js, or you can use Angular.min.js. But I will recommend to you, because you can use Angular.min.js because the size is small. Okay. Another difference I want to share is when I use a angular.min.js, it is not in a readable form. I mean, it's very hard to read or hard to, maybe sometimes you may want to add it something, so it's not that easy in angular.min.js. But if you want to get a readable form, then you can use a angular.js file. Okay, both have the same use, only one is smaller in size, just because the extra spaces, white spaces, are removed from that file. How to use this angular.min.js file? Again, two options: either you can download it, or either you can use a CDN of that library file. I will recommend that you better to use a CDN, because if I will add that angular.min.js, or if I will add angular.js in my web page, it will increase the size of my website. So better because whenever I'm trying to use this web page, of course I'm connected with my internet, so I can connect from this CDN to use the angular.js. So always better practice is I will use a CDN. But in some cases, if you are not connected with your internet, and maybe you are trying to make a website on your local machines, so in that case you need to download this library file from the internet, and then you can use it in your web page. Okay, so two options: I need to add this script tag angular.min.js, or I can say something like this: this is a CDN. Okay, I have this option also. Now, when I try to use a angular.js, what I need to do is I need to use a directives. Okay, what's mean of directives? Just try to understand. Directives are basically something which I'm going to use, and it extends the form of my HTML attributes. My meaning to say is, when I'm using an HTML element, okay, and inside the HTML element I am going to use some attributes. So directives I will use inside my HTML elements, and we have a different directives given in our angular.js file. What is the work of these directives? You can see on the screen. It acts as a marker to the DOM elements, such as attribute, elements, name, comments, or a CSS classes. Then it informs the compiler to attach the behavior to that element that starts with ng. Now, just try to understand how MVC works. Okay, I will explain this with the example on my paper. So just try to understand. What I am trying to do is I am trying to use a MVC architecture, and what I am doing is, in my model I find two variables. First variable name and second variable is ID, and in my view I have two input elements. First one is here, you can see at this place, and second one is this. Now what I will do is I will use these directives so that to bind this HTML element with this variable. So what will happen if I will change the value of the variable over here, that value will automatically change and will reflect over here in this place. If I change some value over here, that will automatically change its value inside the model over here. Okay, and how it is possible? What we will do is we will use a controller. Okay, so controller is what? Basically a controller is a JavaScript object. It is basically a function, okay, that will help me to control this model and view. So now before we proceed, I would like to explain in detail about the directives which you are finding on the screen. I have a ng app, I have ng init, ng model, ng bind, ng repeat, submit, and a controller. Remember one thing, that if you are using the older version, you will find the directive name with data, okay, then hyphen, then ng, then app. But in the newer version we use ng, then hyphen, and then app. Okay, so as you can see on the screen. So okay, thank you. So now I will explain these directive in detail. Just look at my screen here now. I have first directive here, that is ng and app. What is the use of this? You can see it is used to define the root element of an Angular JS application, and it initializes the application every time a web page is loaded. What's the meaning of this? For example, whenever I want to make one web page and I want that Angular JS, I want to use Angular JS, what I need to do is I need to define the root element of my web page like we define in XML. So what is the use of this? It meaning to say is I am going to use this directive because every time my web page will load in the computer memory, Angular JS will start to work from this element. Okay, I will explain this after some time how it works. Then I have another directive whose name is ng init. This is used to initialize the variable. Whenever I declare a variable and I want to give an initial value to that variable, I will use a ng init. Okay. Then I have another directive whose name is ng bind. Okay, ng bind is used for what? It binds the application data with HTML view. It meaning to say is, just try to understand my meaning over here now. Look at this place. When I use ng bind, it meaning to say is what? It mean to say is I want to bind my model with my HTML element. Okay, so it means what will happen if I will change the value of the variable here, that value will reflect at this place. Okay, means any changes you will do in your model, it will reflect in your view. Okay, but this is a one-way binding, not a two-way binding. It means whenever I will make change in this view, it will not update value in my model. Okay, so this is for one-way binding, only one-way binding. Whenever I want to use a two-way binding, it means if I want to change the value from the view and I want that it will also change in my model, so I will use a ng model. Okay, so it means rather than using ng bind, I will use a ng model. Okay, two options I have. Ng bind is for one-way binding and ng model is for two-way binding. Another option I have is that is ng repeat. Okay, this is one directive which I will use as a for loop. Sometimes the variable which I am using is maybe of array type, and I want to iterate the value from my array to maybe somewhere in the the view. So I need to use a ng repeat. It will work as a loop, and I will use this to iterate all the elements from the collection. Then I have another directive whose name is ng submit. Okay, now when I'm saying ng submit, it enables binding of Angular expressions on submit event. It means like we use in HTML we use a submit button, and whenever we click a submit button, it submit our data to wherever the location I said in my action. Okay, so same thing is over here. I will use ng submit to send my data from one place to another place wherever I want to transmit that data. Then another directive which we have is ng controller. This is something which is most importantly we will use this one, ng controller. What is the use of this? You can see over here, it defines the application controller. As I said, I have a model, I have a view. Okay, model is my data, maybe in form of my variables I use. Okay, and I have a view, that is my user interface. Okay, and whenever I want to control these a model and view, I can use a ng controller. Okay, now what is ng controller? You can see it is a JavaScript object. As I said earlier, it is a JavaScript object created by a standard JavaScript object constructor. It meaning to say is it is basically an object which is created by a JavaScript constructor. Okay, now let's see the practical example of these things first, and look at one example over here. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make one web page, and in that web page I want to use a one form, and in that form I want to enter the name and I want to enter the marks. Okay, and hide my window. So here you can see I am using a div tag. Okay, just try to understand. I was explaining about ng app. Okay, and I said that it is basically a root element from where my web page will start to work. Okay, it's just to a bootstrap, you know, it's to bootstrap from that particular location. So what I said is I am using one container whose name is Dave, element name is Dave, and I said ng app, and over here right now I'm not giving any value. It meaning to say is I want to use it current this element. So when I'm saying ng app blank, it means I'm talking about this same element. Then I'm giving another directive here, ng init, and what I said is I want to use one variable whose name is name, and what is the value is a Peter, and then I said marks is another variable. Okay, so ng init first variable, second variable, value is 100, and then when I use my HTML element, I said input and type is text, and now here you can see I'm using ng model, and ng model, what is the name of the variable? Variable name is name, this name. Okay, so this name I defined over here, and it get an initial value from this place. Now I use a name and I use a marks. Now I want to display the value. You can see when I want to display the value, I will use a expression. In Angular JS we use two things. One is directive and second is expression. So here what I want to do is I just want to display the value of my variable. So I will say double angular bracket, you can see this double curly brace, and over here I am giving the name. So when I will write this, it will display the value over here. Okay, and if I change the value somewhere, for example, if I change value in my user interface, so it's not given over here, I will show you practically here. Okay, let's have a look first now. The first example. So this is the first example which I explained just now. You can see the example. Remember HTML5. I always need to write this tag at the top of this HTML page, and here is I'm trying to use the angular.min.js file. Okay, I'm using a CDN, and this is the reference of that file. This file. If you want to see this file, you can see. You just need to copy this, and you can open the browser. So this is that file. So I no need to read this file. I just want to use this file. As I said, because this is minified file .min.js. So when I'm saying .minified, it means all extra spaces have been removed from this file, so that it become lesser in size, and it is not in a readable form. Exactly, not readable form. You can see I can read, but I cannot understand. Okay, so I am just trying to use this over here. I just add this over here, and then now you can see over here what I'm trying to do is I'm going to use a body tag, and inside the body tag just I'm giving the style, background, family, and then font size. Now look at the div tag here. Now I'm saying ngapp. Okay, it is a directive. And init, I give a name Peter and marks, and over here I already explained this thing. Let's try to understand this now. I'm going to run this program now. I would like to run this on my Google Chrome. So you need to choose this Google Chrome from here. Just select this and run this file. See, it's coming over here. Now if I make some changes, you can see at the same time when I make some changes in my user interface, I mean my view, the same time it reflects on my model. For example, see here. This is the beauty of AngularJS. It means if same process I want to do in my jQuery or in my JavaScript, I need to write maybe a big code. But here I no need to do anything. Only I need to do what? I need to bind my variable, means my model, with my view. Okay, and whenever I will make some changes inside my model, it will reflect changes in the view. And if sometimes if I change the make some changes in my view, it will reflect in the model. Okay, so now just try to understand one thing. I am not using this now. You can see I told you that ngapp is a directive which I will use in AngularJS, so that from this element my AngularJS will start its functionality. So if I am not writing this over here, I try to save this program and I try to run this. Now you can see it is not working. You can find over here it displayed a text which I am writing in my this line. Okay, so what I need to do is I need to give the name of my root element and root element, and for that I need to say ng and then /app. Okay, like this. Any questions? If someone have a problem with the FTP, I think you can approach to Rashid. Okay, you can write down to Rashid. If anyone have a problem, then until now whatever I taught this, I will give the example of ngbind also. Don't worry. Okay. Okay. Rajiv, AngularJS, please explain again. See, what I was saying that AngularJS is a JavaScript library, okay, which we use nowadays. And nowadays, why I need to use this? What is the exact use? I want to make my effort less. This process I can also do with my jQuery, but I need to write it more code. And another thing is I want the action happens in real time. So for example, let's say when you are doing the online shopping and you add something in your basket and you maybe remove something from your basket, so what will happen? It just means you are selecting something from your user interface and you put it into your model, in your variable. You put that value somewhere in your variable, and sometimes it may be you already add something from your in your model, and you want to remove that thing and you want to reflect that in your view. So at that time, AngularJS is one JavaScript library which is very helpful, handy, so that you need to write less and it will give you a better experience as compared to jQuery, because there are some limitations. If there are some limitations in jQuery, and AngularJS overcomes that. I was just giving one example that when I want to use an AngularJS, I will create a model, I will create a view, and what I will do is in my models I will maybe define the variables. Okay, models basically means data, and I will connect that, I will attach that with my HTML element, and whenever I will add or maybe I will change the value in my user interface, means my view, it will update the value in my model, and whenever I change value in my model, it will reflect the changes inside the view. This is something which I explained until now. So this example I explained. Okay, I said we need to use ngapp. This is a root element. Okay, from here my AngularJS will start working, and ng-init, this is one directive which I use to initialize my variables. ng model is one directive which is something which I'm going to use for a two-way winding, and whenever I want to display the value, I have an option. I will display something like this. Okay. So in this example, I just use a model, and I did not use a controller. I just use model and a view. In the next example, I will explain how I will use a model, view, and how I will control my model and view with the help of a controller. Now, look at this example. In this example, what I am trying to do is I am trying to use a one a div tag. Again, I use ngapp. Okay, and here you can see now I am trying to say ng controller. When I use a div tag, inside this div tag I said ng controller, and this is the name of the function which I am going to use. So this is the function, my controller. Okay, and I have a variable first name and last name, and I want to display it here, first name and last name over here. I create my controller over here. This is basically one JavaScript object which I'm going to use here, and whenever I want to use these variables, for example first name or last name, or I want to access these variables, I need the help of something which is a scope. Scope is one JavaScript object which is the owner of the all elements and variables defined inside this controller. So when I'm saying scope dot first name, it means to say is I'm trying to access the first name. Maybe I'm trying to assign the value, or maybe I want to retrieve the value. So I can do with the help of the scope. I will give the practical example of this now, so you can understand better from there. Okay, so just try to understand the meaning of this, the program which I'm trying to use now. First, I will show the example. Look at this place. I am saying I want to display the name. So whenever I make some changes in my first name and in the last name, at the same time it reflects. Okay, so this is my view from where I want to maybe enter some values, maybe change some values, and over here I want to reflect those values. For that, I am writing one program over here. You can see at this place over here, same as earlier. This is something which I said ngapp, my root element I defined over here, ng controller. This is a directive, and I said directive, my controller name is my controller, and this is the name of the function which is given over here. Okay, and then I want to access this full name. So here you can see I'm giving the name of the variable, this name, and the last name I'm giving over here. Now I am using this controller. Okay, so you can see over here what is the use of this controller. I said my controller function is a JavaScript object constructor. Okay, so as I said earlier, it is basically a JavaScript constructor. And why to use this? He said that will invoke the scope object. It meaning to say is whenever I want to call this object, I need a controller. And in AngularJS, when I use AngularJS, what is use of scope and what is the scope? He said it is an application object. So it meaning to say is when I'm using one application, it is one object, and what is the use of that? It is basically an owner of a variables and a function. So whatever variable I define inside this program, okay, he is the owner of these variables and functions, and whenever I will try to access these variables, I will use the scope dot variable name. Now I said scope dot first name, I give the value is Steve. So this is the initial value which I am giving over here. In my initial example, when I was using the initial example, I was giving the default value over here. You can see in my initial example, demo 1, I was giving initial value over here. Okay, but in this present example, what I am trying to do is I am trying to access my variables using the controller. I want that everything I will handle with the help of a controller. So to give values to these variables, I am saying scope dot first name equal to Steve. Okay, so this name and over here this name, it should be always same. Okay, so the directive which I already used until now is ng-app, and I used my controller, and I use ng-init, ng-model, and I will explain also ng-bind in the coming example. Okay. Now, in AngularJS, we have another thing that is expression. I told you that whenever we use AngularJS, we deal with two things. One is directive and one is expression. The expressions are same as we use in programming language. We have a number expression, we have a string expression, we have arrays, and we have an object. I will give the example of each and every one by one. Okay, now you can see over here, as in earlier example I said, whenever I want to display the value of my variable, we use these brackets. You can see over here, and this place is expression. In earlier example I just use what you can see over here. I was just giving the name of my variable. Maybe I was not doing any calculation, number calculations, or I was not trying to add the strings. Just in the previous example, I tried to concatenate two strings. I used the first name plus last name. Okay, so this is a string expression basically. Now, coming to these examples of these expressions, first we have an example of number, how I can use the numbers. Rather than explaining over here, I will explain on my computer, and I will give you the real demo. So I hope you can see my computer now, and I'm coming to my next demo in which I am trying to use expressions. Okay. I will run this first. See here, I use a numeric expression over here, and I'm writing gross month salary is, let's say, by default I use this 25,000, and the tax deduction is 300 only. And now if I change the value of my salary, and the tax deduction is still 300, so you can find the output here. You can see at the real time you are getting the changes. Okay. Now, how this is happening? In this example, I am using a numeric expression, and I am also using how to bind the a model with my HTML element using a ngbind directive. So here you can find this place. Okay, right now I'm not using a controller again, just to let you understand. Ng app, one directive, ng init, I'm using this, and I just give the initial value to my two variables, gross month salary and a tax month deduction. Okay, initial value is 25,000 and 300. And then I use an input type. You can see input type equal to text and ng model, and gross month salary is the name of my variable. Now, at this point you can see, first example, I said I want to use an expression. So what I did is I used two variables. I said inside the double curly braces, I will say gross monthly salary minus tax monthly deduction. So this is the numeric expression. This is something which we do in any programming language. Okay, now a new thing, ngbind. I said what? I said that I will use ngbind at that time when I want to bind my model with my maybe view. Okay, so here one more thing I explained, that ngbind is always used for one way, not a two-way. Okay, whenever I want to use a two-way, over here you can see I will use a ng model. Now I'm saying, see this place, I said P and I said style net salary. Now here I'm using a span tag. You can see span ngbind. Okay, so ngbind will do what? It will bind this variable with a span tag. Okay, means who is the model? Model is my this variable, and who is the view now? Mean the HTML element is a span. So I said I am trying to bind the variable whose name is gross month salary minus tax monthly deduction. Okay, and with the HTML element whose name is span. And when I try to run this program, output is this. Okay, you can find, sorry, okay, yes please, any questions, any doubt? Yes please, any problem? Dinesh, do you have any problem? Any question? It's not that we want to use this two time. I am writing this two time just to explain the example. If I will not write this, if I will not write this one, it's okay. I just want to display how to use expression and bind ngbind, ngbind, how to use ngbind. So you can see over here, it's working, it's not a problem. Okay, so I just give the example that how can you display the value. You have two options. Either you can use the expression like this example. Okay, directly you can display the value, or another option is you can bind that model value with an HTML element so that you can display it.
Good morning, sir.
Hello? 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 Hello?
Hello.
Yes? Please ask your question now.
Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you now. I can hear you. Please ask your question.
We get two P tags. Okay. Now we are writing over here a net salary, and also in the next P tag we need to write net salary. Okay. Then actually every model tag will engine tag. Then what defines with that? If we are writing net salary without ng divide and printing with ng divide, then what is the difference? Both of them.
See, there is nothing, it's just a simple logic that in the first example, what I'm trying to do is I just want to display that value inside the my web page. Okay, and what I'm trying to do is I said, you can see I'm not trying to put that value in any HTML element. When I am using this one example, first example, look at this example. This value, I am not saying that I want to bind this value inside the HTML element. I'm just writing that value directly. I'm writing inside that. But when I'm using this one, span, when I'm saying span, it means to do what? I want to do what? That I have a model whose name is gross monthly salary, and this value I want to bind with one HTML element whose name is span. So in the first case, I just want to display the value, okay, and I don't want to bind that value with any HTML element. I just want to display it inside the paragraph. In the second case, what I'm doing is, of course, I'm trying to display that value, but here I want to bind that model value with one HTML element. Then it will display. As you know that in HTML we use a span tag, and we use span tag to display the content, display the text. Okay, so my simple answer is, in the first option I displayed the value of gross month salary minus tax monthly deduction directly in my web page. I'm not binding that value into my HTML element. In the second case, I try to bind that value with my span element, which is an HTML element. Okay, so just I was giving you an example how I can use a ng-bind. Okay, because ng-bind, I said ng-bind I want to use only for one way. One-way binding, not two-way binding. So how can I use a one-way binding? Because this is the option I have in AngularJS. By using this, I can bind my model value with my HTML element. Okay? You got my point?
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, please. Any other person have a question? Yes. Hello.
Good morning, sir.
Yeah, very good morning. How are you?
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
Fine, sir.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Can I use a controller? Sir, can I use a collection in the controller, sir?
Yeah. Later in the later example, I will also explain how to use collections inside the Angular JS. Maybe just after 5-10 minutes, I will explain this. Okay.
Sure. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, please ask
Hello.
your question.
Good morning,
Yeah.
sir.
Good morning.
Sir.
Good morning. Yeah.
So actually, sir, I have one doubt. Like, so we are using this app, NG app, as a root element, right? Root element in
Mm-hmm.
the sense, this page would act as this application would act as a root element. So
Yeah.
every time it has to be like blank only. Like, so why can we give any
No,
kind
it's
of
not like
other
that.
applications with other pages?
It's not that every time it will be a blank. In later example, I will explain. If sometimes maybe you want to make a root element as maybe another
Page.
element, so you can give the name of that element. I will explain it later. Okay.
Okay.
Because this is just a beginning concept, I don't want to confuse you all, so I am giving over here MG app as a blank.
And so instead of this div tag as an element, I can use other element also.
Of course, you can use any container element. You can use section, or you can use any other element. Because I just use them as a container. I use div as a container.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
Okay, sir.
Okay. Ashwarya. This URL, I think you just Google it, okay? You just write the write angular.min.jscdn. If you want to get a URL of angular.js, you can find it in your SG, in your LG. But if you want to find in shorter period of time, just Google it, okay? Just write cdn angular.js. It will give you the URL of that cdn. Just Google. So here you can find the CDN. You can also find the CDN in your Google. See here. Okay, you can copy it from here. So until now I explained directives, few directives, ng, init, ng app, controller, bind. Okay, we have a few more, so I will come to that now. Before we move forward, I also want to use one string expression here. I want to give one demo of string expression. You can find over here, I use two variables, first name and last name. Okay, and again I want to display them. Why I am writing this two time again, so that you can use in either way. Okay, when you want to display it, you can use either way. You can directly display it, or you can add this in your HTML element. Means just bind that model value in your HTML element, and then you can display. So first example over here is I am trying to display the first name and last name, and I want to use a string expression. So I said first plus last name. I want to display them together and inside the p tag. So I'm writing like this. In the second case, I am using ng bind here again, and see this place. What I'm doing is, remember one thing, whenever you are using ng bind or you are using ng model, the name of the variable you need to write in the double quotes or in a single quote. So here you can see here, most of the time I am using double quote here, but you can see as I start my double quote outside, so inside I cannot again use that, so I need to use a single quote here. I said first name, and then just I try to concatenate single quotes and then last name, and if I try to run this page, see here in both options I'm getting the result. So you can use either way to display the value. It's just like in programming language, sometimes you can see we use a function. For example, if I will give the example of C language or C# language or Java, sometimes my function returns the value. When my function return the value, I have an option. Either I can directly write it in the output, or I can put that value inside the variable and then I display that value. So here is the same thing I'm doing. In the first option, I am trying to display the value directly, and then second case, I try to bind that value into one HTML element and then I want to display that value. So either option you can choose, okay? Okay, coming to now collections. See one example I'm giving over here. I want to do what? I want to use one array. Okay, I hope you can see my screen. Again, using one div tag, and in this I use one ng init. Name of my array is students marks, and the values are given over here. Okay, and whenever I want to access the values from my array, I will just write the name of my array and then I will give the index. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I am using a second index, so it will display a value to me, and you will find the output. See, the output is the marks are 80, because over here in my program you can see when I create an array, and in that array I use the values is 60, 75, 80, 90 and 82. Okay, simple example. I'm trying to access only one value. How about if I want to iterate more than one value? I explain one directive that was repeat. Okay, now let's have a look how to use a repeat. See this place, ng app. I am using fruits as an array now. Now here you can see ul, and I start li. Now just let you understand one more thing. I want to iterate the value from my collection, so I need to do what? I need to bind that, that first inside one element. So here I am saying ling repeat. Okay, so this is one directive which will work as a loop to iterate all elements from my collection. So here is my fruits array. Okay, and I want to do what? I want to display them. I want to display them, and what I'm trying to do is one by one I want to put the values of this array into one variable x, and then I am trying to display the x variable. So you can find over here I can iterate my all values from the array using a ng repeat. Yes, please. Any question? Any question? No question. Okay, moving next now. If you have a programming background, in programming language we also use objects. sometimes I want to use a variable as an object. So same thing in AngularJS I can do. I can declare an object, okay, and maybe I can store values inside the object. How to create that or how to make that, I am giving a next example over here. See this place. I said div ng app and ng init. Now see what is the name of my object over here. I said the name of the object is employee. Now when I use this object, I said the name is employee, and inside this object I want to declare a variable, maybe more than one variable. So what I am trying to do is, again inside the this object, when I want to store the value, because object always has some properties. So employee has one property, that is a variable name whose name is ename, and what is the value? Value is Sam, okay, his complete name is given over there. And then I have another variable, I said ecode, okay, you can see, and then I have a department. It meaning to say is one object I defined, inside that object three properties I defined as a variable, ename and ecode and department. And when I want to access this, I want to access these variables, so what I will do is I will write the name of my object and dot property name. So I will say the department is, now you can see what I am trying to do is, I told you you can use either way. So I am saying the department is span ng bind employee dot department. Now so I will display the value. You can find on the screen. The department is HR. So I think it's very simple. It's a piece of cake to understand. Nothing is, no rocket science here. Simple examples. Yes, please. Any questions? Yes, Rajiv, do you have any question, any doubt?
Sukesh,
Yeah.
Can you explain again the collections, because I'm getting a little bit confused in the collections.
Collections.
Collections, because
Okay.
this object you said no.
See here, what I want to do is, let's say for example, see, look at the screen here now. I will give you the example here. See. Can see here, just simple example. If I'm using in C# or in Java, I want to create one class. I will say class ABC, and inside that class I want to define some properties, like I have a name and I have a ID. These are the variables defined inside that. Okay, now the same thing I want to use inside my AngularJS. The syntax is what? Syntax is here is the syntax. This place you can see. ng init.
Yeah.
What is name of the object I want to make? That is employee. Okay. Now equal. This is the syntax. After my object name, I will say equal. Now inside this, because this is just like an like we use a multi-dimensional array. You remember? So same thing I want to make over here, because I have to define key and value, means the variable name and its value. Yeah. So what I'm saying is, I said inside this object, I have one property whose name is ename, and it has a value. It has a value. Okay. Over here I use a comma.
Yes.
For second variable I said e code.
Yes.
Okay. Then I have e department HR. Simple thing. This is how I create a class in C# or in Java, and same I'm doing over here. Whenever I want to access them, I always use the object name. So I'm using object name dot my property name. So my this variable name is e department, and I'm trying to access it.
Okay, so you are trying to say we are making employee as a pointer where we can store this value, and in AngularJS we can access from that particular reference dot the particular value. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Any other question? You understand ng init? All other attribute you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, I think it's very simple. It's not very big deal. It's you people are all are faculties, and you all people have a programming background. So I think it's not a rocket science. Very simple thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, please. Any other person? Puneet. Yes, Puneet. Ask your question now.
Hello, sir. Good morning.
Yeah, Puneet.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir. I have a little question. Yes, I have a little question, sir.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I have used MVC frameworks, struts 2.1. But these frameworks will execute on server side. So this Angular.js is also MVC framework, as you're seeing.
See, one thing. This is what I am trying to explain over here is, I am using just a MVC architecture. We use in another programming language, like in Java we use, in struts we use, in JSF we use, in Hibernate we use. Okay, the same concept is over here.
Yes.
The thing is, in my control just now, I am just I'm doing what? In my control, I am making a function, and that function I am going to use to handle my model and view. If I want to further connect with my server, so maybe if right now I'm making my page as a HTML page, yes. So what is the problem if I will make it as a PHP page or my ASP page? You understand my meaning? I can mingle a server-side technology in this page also, yes? Maybe if I want to make a PHP page, this page I will make as a PHP, and in that PHP page, I can add jQuery, I can add Knockout, I can add Angular, wherever I found that, whatever thing I found that this is good in my Knockout, so I will use Knockout. I found that this is good in AngularJS, I will use that in a web page as Angular.js. Nowadays when we create a web page, what we do is we always mingle many technologies, many techniques, so that we can make our web page in a shorter time and attractive. Okay, so I don't find any problem.
Yes, sir. I have a single question again. This is the client-side MVC, and this client-side MVC can mingle with server-side MVC also. Yeah,
when this is what I'm saying, because right now my web page is HTML page, and I'm not trying to connect with my server. If I have this page as a PHP page and I will further link this page with my server, then I can use the concept of server-side also.
Okay, so sir, can you please explain me the benefit of client-side MVC? Because I have server-side MVC concept clear in my mind. So can you explain me the benefit on client-side MVC?
See,
What is the benefit?
what is going on here? See, just the example I just now explained. When I was using this, see here, when I was using these examples, for example, let's say I'm using this example here again, and this is the page. Just think that, okay. What you have to do is you have a just example of a client-side scripting, okay, and further I will relate this page with a server side also. Just think that I have a user interface, okay. Yes, and when I want to make some input, I need to store that variable, that value somewhere in my variable.
Okay.
Yeah, because I want to send this value. For example, think over here. I'm giving the name of. I will take another example. See, wait. I will use a second example. This example, okay. Now think. Over here, I'm giving the name, first person, and a second. What is the name? A second name of this person. Okay. Now, in my user interface, I am trying to add some values, and these values I have to store somewhere in my maybe in a variable, and that value maybe I want to put into my data server. Do you understand what I mean?
Okay. Yes,
this value I will put somewhere in my variable, and that variable value further I have to put somewhere in my server. Yes. So if I am using this program over here, and you can see over here I have these values, first name and last name.
Yes, sir.
To manage my view and to manage my model, I use this function.
Yes.
Okay. Over here I am doing what? I am just trying to display it over here. If I am connecting with my PHP or my ASP, over here I will try to connect with my database server, and these values I will put into my server.
Okay.
Data server. Do you understand my meaning?
Okay. Yes, sir. Fine.
So it meaning to say is model is something which will take my data from my user interface.
Okay.
It will store into variable, and that variable value I will further put it into my data server. Don't get confused that this is only a client side MVC. This is not a client side only, because my web page is HTML page only. You understand my meaning?
I can extract the data from the database as well, sir. And
of course. Why not?
Okay. So you're going to show me this example, sir, later on.
Because this course we have just a limitation that we are not going to teach them a server side programming. We are just trying to teach them a client side only, and for in this course I have only options of displaying, creating a web page, using a client side validations, okay, and how to create a mobile applications. Only this course, the focus is only based on how to build a website, okay, and how to make them interactive using a AngularJS or a Knockout or a jQuery. Further, if you want to use a data server, okay, you can use a PHP coding, or the student will learn that thing maybe in the future.
Yes, sir. Definitely.
Okay. So this time I have a limitation only, that I cannot go beyond this course. As I explained to you, if I want to put these value into my data server, over here I will not display the value, or over here I don't want to display the value. Maybe I can I can call my database server. I can connect to my data server. I can store value in my data server. Okay.
Fine. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Okay, welcome.
Thanks.
Hello.
Hello. Yeah.
Can you hear me, sir?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Sir, I have one doubt, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Can I use a prompt option instead of getting the values in the user defined? You are using a text box and all those things.
I
Can
just
I
now.
use that option, prompt option?
Please speak loudly and please come close to your mic. I cannot
Hello.
hear.
Can I use
Yeah.
a prompt? Hello, sir.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Is it audible, sir? Can I use
Yeah,
the
yeah.
prompt option?
Yeah. See, I told you that when I'm using one technology, like I'm using this one Angular JS, I can also use a jQuery with it. I can also use a JavaScript with it. Okay, so somewhere if I found that I have a need of a prompt dialog box. Okay, so what I can do is simply I will add a JavaScript or I will add a jQuery. Okay, rather than using trying to display value in my web page over here, something like this, I can also prompt it, because I can include a jQuery or JavaScript here also.
Yeah, okay, sir. I have
See,
one more doubt, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yeah, what
Yeah,
the
please
other
go
doubt
ahead.
is, can I use an array list in this collection approach?
Not audible. Not audible. I cannot hear you.
Hello, sir. Hello, sir. Can I use an array list in
Arrow?
the collection approach?
Array?
Collection array list.
Please write down. Okay, I'm not able to understand. Please write down.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Please write down your question.
Yes, sir.
See, one person is asking a question that my controller function is acting as a model. No, my function is working as a controller. Model is something which I defined, like variables I am defining. Data is called a model. Controller is a function over here. When I'm using a my controller function, that my controller is a controller which will I use to manage my view and model. Okay, don't confuse.
Okay.
Yeah, please ask your question.
Yeah, I'll send it to that one, sir.
Can I use array list? You are saying can I see whatever
Array list.
you are saying that can you use a array list? As I said, you can see that this time I have a limitation of using a client side only. Okay, sometimes if you want to use a programming logics, you can use for example, if I'm using a ASP or I'm using a PHP, if my PHP allow me to make an array list, can I use or not?
Yeah.
So same thing is over here. So it has a limitations. Okay, I have a object. Why should I use array then? I have a array. I just now I give the example of object.
Okay.
Do you understand my meaning?
Now I understand. Yeah, yes.
Every programming language have their own way to do something. In this case, I have an array and I have another option is object. I can declare an object and I can do something which I want to do in the array list. Okay? Okay, thank you. Yes, my computer function is acting. Okay, this I already explained. Rajiv, you are saying that it is not secure. Why it is not secure, Rajiv?
Because usually you feel that client side scripting, the data will be stored in the client side. Okay, so that particular client side, whatever we do that in the model, that will be not secure because anyone can fetch the data from there.
How can? How they can how they can access these? This is just for temporary memory in my my this web page. When I will try to access it, okay, I try to input, I try to enter some values inside my maybe a form, okay, and then that form is linked with my model, and then that value I put into somewhere in my data server. Okay, if someone cannot directly access my web page, don't think that I'm just using HTML. Later I have to use server side also. PHP I will use, ASP I will use, or JSP I will use. At that time I can restrict any unauthorized person to access my web page or not.
Okay, so you mean to say you are going to start the data server, not in client side, or you create the model, because how you just show just that demo, no? Directly it is binding to the model.
I will explain it to you on the paper, okay? Just look at the paper now. I think it's not a very hard thing to understand, but I will explain here, okay? Just have a look on the paper. So see, this place I have a model. This place I have my user interface, my view, okay, and this place is my let's say my controller, okay. It's not that always model is like a variable. I can also directly fetch data from the data server also. It's not that I will put it over here. See here, the concept is what? Whatever I will write in my view, okay, in my user interface I will write something. This is bind with these variables. Okay. Now, if I change something over here, it will go to this place, this variable. Yes?
Yes.
Then maybe in my controller, I also use a PHP or ASP or ASP.NET MVC. Okay. And by using that, I am linked with my data server. Yes. So this is linked with this, and this is also linked with this, like this. And over here I can write the server side technology. I can put my data in my data server over here. Yes or no?
Okay.
Think one thing that...
No, what I'm trying to say that...
Yeah, please say.
So guys, what I'm trying to say that means if we are storing data server, it's fine. But once we use this model and we bind with ng model. In ng model, what will be there? It's a two way of the binding. Both way you can extract the data. Both way you can change that. So suppose I'm using ng model, so anyone can change the data. So if they are accessing my website, that's what I want to understand. Apart from data server, if any kind of security we can provide to the particular website or not.
Yeah, of course. We always do that. When I will make one server-side web page, I will use server-side technology. How can one unauthorized see directly who has access to get my information? Only my DBA? Yes. If I have a data, who is a person who can directly access the data? Only DBA. Yes. And any other person rather than DBA, he is not allowed to directly access the database. See, I'm giving you example, okay? I am the database administrator, right? And you are the user of my website. Yes? Now, what will happen? If I have access to access my data as a DBA, I can delete anything.
Okay.
Yes, but if I will read something, anytime you can catch my caller. Okay, how you delete that? See, so only one person I am who has a right to delete that. If I delete that, people can catch me. Yes. Now, secondly, if you are trying to access the web page, if you are not giving me your credential, do you think I will let you in my web page? You must have to enter in my website. Yes, you need to enter your credentials. then you can delete something or not. So whenever, see, don't get confused that I'm just making HTML. This is just only for HTML and only for client side. It's not like that. This is just a one architecture which I am going to use, and later I will bind it with my server side technology also. I will use server side technology also, and in that server side technology, any technology, I can restrict user to do something which I don't want to do, let other people to do.
Yes, yes.
Okay, understand my meaning?
Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
See, just giving an example. Do you think cookies are secure?
No, cookies are not secure because anyone can fetch the data.
But still we use cookies in our website or not?
Yeah.
We use cookies, yes. And do you think we let any people to access our username and password? We usually does not allow anyone to enter in our website directly. We always ask them to enter your credentials. When that person enters the credentials, then he is authorized to go inside my web page. He can access my website. So there is no problem that you are saying that it is not secure. It is just to make my program, my web page easy to handle. Okay, it's just a technology which is giving me a advantage to handle my program easily. Okay, earlier I was doing this with using maybe a programming, and when I use the programming for this purpose only, you can see it will make my web page slow. Do you understand my meaning? Same thing I can also do with my PHP or ASP, but for that service, that request will go to server will give the response. You understand my meaning? It will make my web page slow.
Yeah.
So why not use this in the client side only? Then when everything is finalized, send the data to the server.
Okay, so validation will go to the database server, right?
Of course, when you validate, when you finalize the validate, then only you will do submit, na?
Okay. I got it.
Okay.
Oh, thanks.
So I think now we almost covered this just basics of our AngularJS, and I am giving another example over here that sometimes maybe we want to validate our form. Okay, that we used to do with maybe a jQuery or maybe by using a JavaScript. Okay, now I have another option over here. I can do the form validation using AngularJS. Just think example over here. I have a username field, and I want that one must enter this value over here. Okay, now you can see when I try to make it empty, it give me a message, username is required. The same thing over here. I am not trying to enter anything. I just kept it empty. You can see over here two things. First is username required, email required. Okay, another thing you will find over here, when these fields are empty, over here this button is disabled. You can see button is disabled. Once I enter some value, you can see I am trying to enter some value, and over here I am giving the email ID. When I try to enter the email ID, and you can see now the buttons get enabled. You can see or not? Yeah, these things I used to do with maybe using a JavaScript or maybe a jQuery or maybe any server-side programming language using ASP or PHP. Now, this thing I can do with AngularJS and without writing any coding. Okay, so Don't you think that this is helpful for me, because I am not writing too much, and this is happening only on the client side. If I will do this with the JavaScript or maybe the jQuery, I need to write the coding. Yes, if I'm using a PHP or ASP, I need to write the coding. But here I'm not using anything. I am just writing some directives. Okay, let's have a look with this example. Okay. Find at this place. I use a controller whose name is validate control. Okay, and name equal to my form and no validate. Okay, it meaning to say is by default, if your browser do some validations, okay, meaning to say is if by default your browser do some validations and you want that your browser will not do any validation, that is by default. Okay, meaning to say is you want to stop your browser to do the default validation. I will write one directive name no validate over here. Means your browser will not do default validation now. He will do the validation which I am writing over here. Now, coming here now, I'm using one p tag, inside that writing big. Okay, now over here I said input type equal to text, name is user. Okay, just try to understand that I'm using a name is user, and over here name is my form. Okay, and then I use ng model, and I said ng model, and what I did is I tried to use variable whose name is bind, name is user, and I said required. It meaning to say is now what thing I did, I said in HTML we always do this nowadays, we say required. It means the field is required, you must enter the value. Now with my span tag I said style is color is red. Okay, means I want to show something in red color. At what time? You think at what time I want to display it. ng show. ng show meaning to say is this is one directive which will display the data whenever there is a, maybe there is something wrong, when there is error, or maybe something is dirty data over there. Okay, so I am saying over here ng show my form means this one user. Okay, user, because I use one variable, username, this, okay, dot dirty. Okay, means not the value which I am saying. Okay, or it is a invalid, maybe it's not a valid value. Okay, so it meaning to say is now whenever there is a dirty value or it is an invalid, this ng show will do what? It will give a message username is required. Okay, and see my form user error dot required. It means when I use this page and over here if I'm not writing anything, it will display username is required. Now no programming. Okay, just think that no programming, I just need to add a directive here, just a directive. This is happening in the client side. Just think that this is something happening in the client side. I can do this with my PHP, okay, but that is server side. It will take time, my web page will work slow. Okay, second option, I have a JavaScript, I can do this, I need to write code. Okay, so again it will take time and complicated code. Okay, next I'm coming to jQuery. I can do this with jQuery. Okay, option is available, but still I need to write the code. But here I no need to write anything. I will add the directives. And this directive, you just remember you need to remember one time which directive I will going to use when I have a situation like this. You will say that okay, if this is a situation, I will use ng show. Okay, and I will add this, the form name, username, and then condition if it is dirty or if it is invalid, then it will display here. This is for first time, for my username, and this is for my email. You can see over here I'm saying ng show my form and email. If email is because if empty, do you understand my meaning? If it is empty means dirty value, and if it is invalid, so invalid. Now what message I will get here? You can see if error is required, it means if I am not writing anything inside that, then error is what? Error name is required. You will get a message email is required. And if sometime, for example, if I use the here input type is email, and when I try to validate that value, because of course when I'm writing this thing, this directive, to make this directive, of course they have made a program, and that program is available in this file. So they are going to make my program short. I am not taking care of that thing. They will take care of that thing. I will just add the directive, rest they will handle. Okay, so what I am doing is, over here I said I will say form user invalid. Okay, display this message to me. Then another thing I am writing over here, I explain to you, when this place have an error, you can see on your button is disabled. Okay, so again no coding, I am just writing one directive over there. Look at the coding now. See the coding, input type submit. Now see ng disabled. Okay, see ng disabled, directive name at what time? When myform.user.dirty or invalid. Okay, dirty and invalid, whenever it is dirty and invalid, it will make it disabled. And you can see typed with this, or myform.email dirty and myform.email invalid. It means I am saying that if my username is empty and maybe my email is empty, so do what? Make this button disabled. Okay, so when I will write something in my field, okay, so you can see button become enabled. If my email ID is not valid, you can see over here, so my button become disabled. Yeah, any question? Any questions? When you will practice for these things, and if you will regularly use these things, you will get used to, because initially it is hard to remember all the name of the directives. But yes, if I am continuously using these directives, okay, it will come in the tip of your tongue, anytime you can use. I have two options for here. ng show, when I use ng show, first I have is dirty and second is invalid. It meaning to say, just like, see, for example, if you are trying to add the value and that value is not a proper value, okay, so option is dirty, and when option, if you are saying you are trying to enter the value which is not valid value, so it is a invalid option. So just a dirty value and a invalid options, two options I use here. Okay, I will give one more demo here. This is the example which we can use in our day-to-day life also, and I will also explain one activity which is very useful, and one more thing which I will explain in this later in the activity, that is how we can store the data on the client side. Just for example, let's say sometimes it may be you are going to remote place, and you are not connected with your data server, and you want to work offline. Okay, so when you want to work offline, you have an option. What you can do is you can use the HTML5 new feature, that is a local storage. Local storage will do what? It will help me to store the data in the memory of my browser. Okay, in the memory of my browser. So it will keep value in your browser memory, and maybe 1 day, 2 day, 10 day, 1 year, 2 year, until you will not delete that. Okay, so in future, whenever you will connect with your data server, you can sync your application with your data server, and then you can load that data from your local machine to your data server. So this is another feature of HTML5 that I will explain later in the activity. And before that, I'm just giving one example how to create one to-do list. This is another example of AngularJS, which is very handy, and you will find it interesting. Just look at the example over here. You are finding one to-do list, and what thing I will do in my daytime or any time, I will create a list for that. So I will add this. Okay, anything you are writing over here, I am going to add this. Yes, whenever you thought that this work is done, okay, remove it from the list. So this is one simple application I am going to use, and I use AngularJS. And with this example, I just try to store value, okay, in one collection, means maybe array, okay, and the activity which I was talking about, the same activity further I will will make continue to store these values. For example, see, I add these values inside my web page. This time the 2 values I add in my to-do list, and when I close my browser, okay, and I try to open it from this again same browser, you will find that values are not there, because at that time the values was in the computer memory for a shorter period of time until my browser is on. Now the activity which I was saying, that I will add the task list, and if I closed my browser, next time whenever I will open my browser, I will get those values, because those values I will keep in my local storage, and this local storage is somewhere in browser, okay, in my computer browser memory. So before I will go there, I will just try to explain this simple example how to create a to-do list using AngularJS. Okay, try to understand now. Over here I am just giving the styles. I think no need to explain this thing, you already know this thing now. See here, earlier I was using a div as a container, now I am using body as my container, and I am saying the root element is my body. So I am saying ng app and then ng controller. The name of the function is to do control. After that I use one div, class name is my class, and over here I use one form. Initially I explained one directive ng submit. So this is the example of that when I will submit this data to somewhere. Okay, so I'm saying form ng submit. So when I will say submit, I want to call one function whose name is to do add that I have created in my controller. So this function, okay, I have somewhere here this. So I'm writing over here to do add. Then I have input. Now you can see in the input type equal to text, ng model. What is the name of the variable? To do input. Size is 50 and placeholder add new. Placeholder is one new feature attribute added in HTML5. It meaning to say is whenever I will run this page and inside my HTML element, it will give me just a guideline. For example, you can see over here this time add new is coming over here. So this is coming because over here in my placeholder I'm writing this. Okay, then I have input type submit. Okay, so only two element input types. Now after that I am using one div. Why I'm using this div? Because I want to display the items which I add in my to-do list. Now for example, let's say I am trying to add something over here. When I will click this button add new, okay, add new. So add new is what you can see here. Add new is this one. Yes, it means when I will click this button I will call what? I will call to do add. Okay, when I will call to do add, it meaning to say is what? What is the name of the controller? To do controller. So when I click this button to do add, my computer will come to this place. Scope dot to do add. Now what is inside the function? I said equal function and do what? Scope dot to do list dot push. Okay, meaning to say is inside the whenever I use a collections in AngularJS, so it's not given over here some functions. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to push the elements inside the one thing which I defined over here whose name is to do list. You can see over here what is the to do list. To do list is one object which I defined over here. I said scope dot to do list. See, it's same as the example I gave to you earlier. I said scope dot to do list equal to. Now inside this what I'm doing is I'm trying to add a two variable. First is to do text. To do text is a variable name. Value is pay house rent. So this pay house rent was coming in the beginning when I start this page. You can see pay house rent, it was coming over there. And another thing which I'm using over here is I'm using another variable whose name is done, and this variable I'm using as a boolean, true or false. I said initially it is false, means I want to say checked in or checked. It meaning to say is just like this. For example, over here you can see if I will select this option, it means the value of done is true, and if it is not checked, it means the value of done is false. So when I come to this place, I click this button, I came to this place, and this function will do what? I said scope dot to do list dot push. It means add the value, add value here, add the value inside this object. So I said scope dot to do list push and add a new value. Now what is the new value? Value is something which I am writing inside the to do input. Now what is to do input? To do input is the name of this one somewhere I am using here. See, this input type variable I bind with a to do input. Okay, so then second, by default I will say done equal to false. it means I don't want to select it. Otherwise, if I'm saying true, okay, now see, I am saying true, and I will go to my web page and I will try to add the value. See here, I will add a new value. So now when I add this, you can see that by default that value is coming selected. So I will use this. By default, I want to make it false. Now, when I will add this, okay, after that, to do input value become empty. It meaning to say is, when I add this value over here, you can see it become empty. Okay. Now, after that, this place, when I click this one, now I came to this place, ng repeat. Why this ng repeat? I was trying to explain this because something is inside the to-do list object, this object, and I want to iterate, I want to fetch all the elements from that object, and I want to display it inside the element whose name is div. So I said div ng repeat equal, now values are inside the to-do list, so whatever is the value inside the to-do list, it will come one by one, and I will store this value into X variable. Now, someone was asking earlier to me why I'm using a ng bind over there and to display the data. Now you see one example over here. I want to display the data, okay, and you can see I want to bind that with one variable. With one element, HTML element. So I'm saying input type equal to checkbox. See, ng model x dot done. Now it meaning to say is what? Object name dot property name. So it means whatever is value inside the to-do list, it will come to X, and X has a property whose name is done. So over here, input type equal to, so at this place you can see if it is true, it will say checked. Okay. After that, I use span, and inside this span, I want to display the text. So I say x dot to do text. So over here, this text is coming. Okay. Now after that, this loop will work. How many times? Maybe it will see how many items are inside this one. Okay, to-do list. Now after that, one more thing I'm doing over here. I want to remove the items. Okay, for example, I want to remove these items. See, I want to remove these items. So for that, I use one button whose name is removed mark. Here is a caption here, and this is button named this. I'm not giving any name over here, in fact, and I'm calling one function whose name is remove. Now this you try to understand what I'm saying. I said scope dot remove. This is, I'm making one function, and here I'm saying what? I use one variable, and inside that variable I said old list equal to. Meaning to say is, what I want is, I want to take all the value from my to-do list and I want to put it into old list. Why? Because I want to display the fresh value over there. For example, see, I add first value over here. Okay, and I say add, then I add a second value over here, I say add, then I said third value I add over here, add. Now which value I want to remove? I want to remove this one which I select, and I will say remove. It meaning to say is these two values which are not checked, I want to display again at the same time. So I clicked it, and you can see that new values are coming here. It's not that these values are not moving from here. First, what is going to happen? All values I copied from my object, I put these values into old list, and Then I create one, see, I create another object here. I said a scope to-do list, just like a redefine a variable. I said scope to-do list equal to, now you can see it's empty. Meaning to say is I did what? I make that object empty. Now what I want to do is I want to add the new value. So I said I want to use a for loop in Angular.js. So I said Angular.for each. This is the name of the loop. So I said Angular.for each. Now what I want to do, I want to use this variable and I put it over here. This for each loop is same as we use a for each loop in a programming language, like we have in another programming language like C#. Okay, so I use a for each, and then what I want to do is I want to check whether that checkbox is selected or not. So inside the function I use a variable x. Now I'm saying if not x dot done, it means if I'm saying if x dot done means if x is true. So if I'm saying if not x dot done means if x is false. So over here if I select this one and I did not select this one, so in this case x is selected, so it means the value is true, and this case is not selected, it means false. So it will come to this place and it say if x not done, then scope dot to do list dot push. It meaning to say is earlier over here it was empty, and now it will add a value again in my object. Okay, and it will display value to me over here. Yes please. Yes please. This is the example, just a simple example which I use. Okay. Yes, please ask your question. If something you do not understand, you can ask me. Someone who understand, please, everyone, whoever understand, give me your attendance. Yes. Someone who did not understand, please say no. I want each and every person attendance now. I want each and every person attendance. Someone who understand, I want to see that whether you understand or not. Only 3%. And it displays 20%. Yeah, definitely I will share all these demos with you. Just after this I will send it to you. Okay. What I will do is we will take a break. Take a break of 10-15 minutes. It is almost 2 hours now. I will take a break of 10-15 minutes, and meanwhile I will share these demos with you, and you can check them if you understand. Okay. If you did not understand, please get back to me. Okay. After this session, we'll take a break of 15 minutes. Okay.